think that thanks for air defense of our part, that's not enough.
You're going to want to pay attention to this moment because it is extremely telling. What's up, you guys, and welcome back. My name's Natasha, and this is Behavior Breakdowns. As always, I'm joined by my sleepy co-host, PJ. Today, we are breaking down the body language and behavior of President Zelensky. Now, President Zelensky has been in the news recently after meeting with Mark Carney to receive some more funding for Ukraine. So let's get into some behavior and body language. Welcome to 2026. I hope it's going to be a good year for you. I hope it's going to be a good year for myself, for PJ, and for the channel.
Okay. Thanks so much. Good to see you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Alors, merci, Monsieur le Président. Bienvenue au Canada. Bienvenue à Halifax.
So we start off with Carney doing a hand clap here. It's almost as if Carney doesn't know if he should go into an applause. And as Zelensky rounds the corner, we see immediately his palms and arms come out. This is signaling I'm probably going to come in for a hug. My body language is open. It's nice to see you. Now, Carney extends his hand and Zelensky does come in with that hug. He pats him on the back. He also refers to Mark Carney as Mark.
Good to see you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That is very familiar, and it is not uncommon for Zelensky. I've seen this in his baseline before. He does tend to be a lot more casual in the way that he goes about politics. So we see him greeting Carney, saying, "Good to see you, Mark," addressing him very informally, but giving him that handshake and the pat on the back. In this first brief moment, we also have Zelensky mirroring and mimicking Carney. And we also hear Carney say, "Thank you very much." Zelensky parrots that sentence and says it directly back to him.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Alors,
Mirroring someone's body language is a good way to build rapport. A lot of people see it as sort of a cheat code to bridging some rapport more quickly. The interesting thing about mirroring is that it also happens on an unconscious level. When you are in sync with someone, your body language will naturally start to mimic and mirror one another. So we already see that happening here for Carney and Zelensky. Now, whether Zelensky was intentionally mirroring and mimicking Carney to bridge that initial rapport, I'm not sure. Perhaps he knows a little bit about body language. Zelensky does have a background as an actor, so he might be aware of some body language and behavioral gestures. Whether it's unconscious or not, we know that they are in sync. We know that they are in rapport.
vous êtes parmi tes alliés, tes amis ici. Et le Canada va travailler sans relâche pour le peuple ukrainien.
We have Zelensky doing a ventilation gesture there as he goes to adjust his collar, perhaps pulling it back to let some more air in. This can also be an adapter. This can be a way to help relieve some nervous energy. Sometimes when our bodies start to feel stress, we look for ways that we can subtly move them to kind of release some pent up tension or stress. Now, Carney goes on to speak for a while here, so I'm going to skip ahead to when Zelensky starts to speak.
Alors, thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. Dear Mark, Prime Minister, dear journalists, dear Canada, thank you for your support, first of all. And thanks for your the words that you mentioned about this tonight attack. It was really very difficult, hard attack, the Russia.
When Zelensky goes to speak here, he again refers to Mark Carney as Mark, and we see Carney immediately put his hands behind his back.
Dear Mark, Prime Minister.
Now, that is a typical position for Carney. He does tend to stand with his hands behind his back. I actually placed him on my body language countdown, the worst body language we saw in 2025. And I put that specific gesture from Carney on the list. And that's because when the hands go behind the back, we can't see them. It creates a sense of uncertainty. It creates a sense of mistrust. We have this inherent feeling that something might be being concealed, that that person might have something dangerous hidden behind their back. So we like to see the hands, which is why Zelensky's position is more favorable here. But he calls Mark Carney Mark, and then he follows up with Prime Minister. We have that informal greeting, and Carney kind of retracts a little bit there. We also see some major self-soothing gestures when Zelensky says, "Thank you for your support." We see his hands start to rub together, again, finding some ways to help relieve some nervous energy. And a lot of the time that comes out through self-soothing or pacifying behaviors. Those tend to be repetitive gestures and repetitive movements, usually involving some self-touch to help release oxytocin. When Zelensky goes to thank Carney about making a statement regarding a recent attack from Russia, he turns to Carney and he locks eye contact with Carney there. Interestingly, Carney actually turns away when he says it. Carney breaks that rapport, breaks that eye contact, and when he does that, Zelensky immediately goes into another self-soothing gesture. He goes and scratches his nose. The eyebrows actually raise there. Now, eyebrow raising can come around surprise, it can come around disbelief, it can also come around social approval and social recognition. We see a bit of a change, and in body language, we do look for clusters of change. We look for deviation from someone's baseline. Did Zelensky just have an itch on his nose that moment? Possibly. It's possible that his nose just itched, but more than likely, this is a way to help soothe some nervous energy. It's a way to help relieve some stress that he's feeling. When he makes that statement, he looked to Carney for that moment of connection. Carney denied him. Carney turned away and broke that rapport that the two of them were building.
Russia launched more than 500 drones and dozens of missiles. And
we also have Zelensky stumble on his words a little there. He goes to say 500 missiles, but he realizes that's incorrect, and so he says 500 drones. And as he says that, we see Carney shaking his head no. Now, that can be disbelief. It can be around he can't believe that Russia would do that. Not that I'm focusing on Carney for this video, but I do have to point out some things when I see them and when I think they're relevant to the conversation that's happening. We also have Carney doing a tongue jut when Zelensky makes that statement. Again, this could be that Carney's feeling some negativity towards that idea. That would make a lot of sense given Carney's stance on the war in Ukraine and everything that's going on. We do see those gestures starting to come out for Carney, that head shake no, we see the tongue jut, and we also see Zelensky doing another eyebrow raise. Now, as I said before, eyebrow raising can come around disbelief, it can come around surprise. The eyebrows can also raise when somebody is suggesting or presenting an idea and they're looking for you to connect on it. I raise my eyebrows when I make these videos, when I want to emphasize a point. The eyebrows can act as a billboard on the face. They are a way that we can communicate messages. So we see Zelensky's eyebrows raise as he's making those statements.
I think thanks for air defense for our part, that's not enough. And this attack is, again, Russia's answer.
You're going to want to pay attention to this moment because it is extremely telling. When Zelensky says thanks for the air defense, we see a cluster of change here. And when we see clusters of change, when we see deviation from baseline, that's when we know that there is something significant going on internally for that person. When we see body language and gestures that don't match or that are incongruent to the words that somebody is saying, that is when we raise our red flags. That's when we know there's something going on beneath the surface that that person isn't saying verbally. When Zelensky says thanks for the air defense, we see a shrug. We also see an eye block gesture. Now, eye blocking happens when somebody wants to close out information, when they are overwhelmed, or when they no longer want to be a part of something, a conversation, or they no longer want to think of a certain idea. They will use their eyelids as a barrier to block out that information. And we also see Zelensky have some contempt on his face. Now, contempt looks like one side of the mouth raising. It's almost a half smirk. On top of all of that, we also see Zelensky's palm come up here. That single palm up is a condensed version of this. It's a condensed version of a bigger shrug, of a bigger gesture of uncertainty. So all of those gestures around that statement, thank you for the air defense, to me suggests that there is a lot of internal feelings that are not aligned with that statement. After making that statement, he turns to Carney and says, and for our partners, but it's not enough.
For our partners, it's not enough. And this attack.
And again, when he says that, we see Carney agreeing, but breaking that eye contact, breaking that rapport, turning away from Zelensky.
And this attack is, again, Russia's answer on our peace efforts.
When Zelensky says peace efforts, we see Carney come back around. That's when Carney knows this is something that he is a bit more comfortable hearing being discussed. So he actually goes back to matching and mirroring. We see both of their hands go up, and then their hands return into this folded position in front of them.
And this really shows that Putin doesn't want peace. And we want peace, and he's the man of war, but he's afraid to speak about publicly. But we see the steps, and what we need to stop this war in any way.
So we see Zelensky with some open body language there as he says, we want peace. We see the arms come up and the palms are out. When someone is presenting an idea, it's useful to speak with open palms and open body language. We also have Zelensky doing another eyebrow raise when he says that, looking for Carney to make that connection. And when Zelensky says he's a man of war, we do see a shoulder shrug there. The shoulders raise up. Now, normally shoulder shrugging comes around uncertainty. When there's a lack of confidence in the statement, we see those shoulders come up. So interesting to see it happen there for Zelensky. Also seeing some self-soothing gestures starting up for Carney here. I wonder if he's feeling some uncertainty about Zelensky's statement, or if he feels like perhaps Zelensky's been speaking for too long at this point. We see Carney's fingers starting to rub together there.
And we need two things, pressure on Russia and sufficient strong support for Ukraine. We'll speak about it. We will speak about air defense.
A lot of you guys have been asking me about Duper's Delight. Now, one thing I want to make clear about Duper's Delight, it is extremely subtle because that person is trying to conceal a smile. They're trying to actively conceal the fact that they feel delight over duping you. Some people experience that internal feeling of delight because they feel like they're getting away with something. So it is generally something that they are trying to conceal. They don't want to show you that they actually feel that delight because that would blow their cover. So the smile that comes around Duper's Delight is very, very subtle. subtle and it's masked really quickly because the person does not want you to be able to recognize that they feel like they've gotten away with something. Just so you guys know, I actually do have Ukrainian heritage, but I believe in calling out behavior and body language as I see it. And when Zelensky makes that statement, I believe that there is some duper's delight happening there. Look very, very closely.
We need two things, pressure on Russia and sufficient strong support for Ukraine.
He says we need two things, pressure on Russia. And when he makes that statement, we see what looks like to me a way to try to conceal some inner delight. It's a very, very brief moment, but if you watch the eyes and watch the mouth, it almost looks like there is some internal feelings of delight happening in that moment. If I showed you this still of Zelensky, does this look like a person who is talking about what they need to end a war? Now, the reason I think that's duper's delight is because after Zelensky makes that statement, we see him immediately go into a facial expression of anger. And what's interesting about this is that this is the first time in this conversation where we've seen Zelensky make this facial expression. The eyebrows drop and come together, creating that crease in between the brows. We see the mouth come together, the lips tighten and curl in, and the mouth actually turns into that upside down smile. It's a frown. It's almost as if in that moment he realized that delight can't come out. I have to mask it. I have to drop into this other emotion. I should feel angry about this. And that's when we see these facial expressions come out. There's something about that statement that just didn't sit right with me. And it's interesting to see for the first time in this conversation, making those facial expressions of anger. Why are we seeing that facial expression now when we didn't see it before when Zelensky was talking about the attacks on Ukraine? We see it now coming out around putting pressure on Russia and needing support.
And strong support for Ukraine. We'll speak about it. We will speak about air defense. And it's really, last weeks we had good steps in diplomacy, but we can't live in illusion that it gives us possibility to have less air defense. With Russia, it doesn't work. So thank you very much, Mark.
Carney has a way of looking like he would rather be anywhere else but where he is at that current moment. And unfortunately, we do see a bit of that here from him. He starts to look around the room. He starts to try to make eye contact with somebody from his team. Perhaps he's wondering when things will wrap up. Now, English is not Zelensky's first language. Sometimes I question whether that impedes his ability to read the room. He turns to Carney and says, "We can't live in the illusion that it gives us the possibility to have less air defense." We see Carney's hands come up here almost as if he's gonna do a shrug himself, and then we see Zelensky try to mimic that gesture. His hands go up as well. Thank you very much, Mark. Again, very informal from Zelensky, but that is his style.
For this meeting, we will have bilateral, and as you said, we will join our European friends, and tomorrow I will have, I hope, very important and very constructive meeting with President Trump.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. Merci.
So right at the end of this conversation with Zelensky and Carney, we see those eyebrows furrowed together again for Zelensky as he discusses having an important meeting. Also see another eye block happening for him around that same statement. We also have Zelensky doing a big swallow there as he says a constructive meeting with President Trump.
Very constructive meeting with President Trump.
Now, given that Trump and Zelensky have had a pretty tumultuous meeting in the past, I can understand that perhaps Zelensky feels some apprehension, but we do see him pause on the word constructive, and we see that gulp happen for him there. That about wraps it up for today, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did Zelensky's body language match the words that he was saying? Did you notice anything unusual in his body language or gestures that I might have missed, write it in the comments below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here in 2026. I also want to continue to grow the channel and branch out from just doing strictly Canadian politicians and media figures to doing other people, other public figures, other politicians around the globe. So if you have any suggestions of who you want me to break down next, write it in the comments below. Now, we will still be covering a ton of Canadian media personalities and Canadian politicians, so don't worry, their body language and behavior analysis isn't going anywhere. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!